And we are live. Welcome, viewers. Welcome, listeners, on this pretty rainy afternoon out here in Wales. I am having my very good friend and guest, Vernon Meigs, joining me again to discuss the politics in pop culture. How are you doing, my friend? It's been a while. Is everything all right out there?
Yeah, things have been okay. Things have kind of been on the better side since the last time we talked. I think I was really exhausted mentally last time due to things in my life going on, but I think I'm in a better place right now. So.
Oh, that is always good news to hear, and I'm sure many of your followers are also going to be thrilled to hear that as well. Y'all aren't a lockdown state, am I right? Is things kind of back to normal?
Well, I mean, restaurants are still, I think the social distancing is mostly gone for now. We still have to walk in with masks, but you can take it off at the dinner table once we get there. I don't know. It's still not 100% normal, and I resent the fact that this might be the new normal. Let's hope it doesn't become that.
Indeed. I mean, just very quickly, out here in Wales, the gyms have just reopened. So I'm very thrilled about that. I'm feeling small, man. All the gains are gone, So I've been enjoying that this week, and I'm enjoying having a conversation with you this morning. So thanks for having the time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Vernon, what's going on in the world of pop culture and Star Trek, man? I know this is like your big area of passion. Share a little bit about your love for the shows and what you think is going on.
Okay, since we're diving right into Star Trek, well, when I was, say, I can't even remember my age, 7 or 8 back then. Back in Japan, we used to go to every weekend the PX, the exchange for because my dad is retired military, so we went to the bases to kind of get our taste of anything American there, right? So, and this is back when they were selling VHSs. There was this slew of VHSs where like a whole row dedicated entirely to Star Trek, and that just kind of like this it kind of struck me as this monolithic thing. Like, what is this? It looks interesting. It's like I had to see it, and and I kept on getting some VHSs and getting more immersed and knowledgeable about the show. And by the time we moved to the U.S., this is in Florida. I guess I wanted to, this wasn't the time where we can get everything at instant speed, right? Like, we had to kind of wait for it to be on television or something like that. There wasn't really any streaming to speak about. So I basically, we got the Star Trek Encyclopedia. This is before Memory Alpha or something like that. That's the Star Trek wiki. And, it's like, I memorized that book. So
it was a physical book, right? It was
book,
all the genre and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Right, sure. I think it was up to a certain point in Voyager that it cataloged. I think it basically took care of all of Deep Space Nine, but didn't finish off on Voyager. So, but so up to that point, I had a great bit of knowledge about. So.
Obviously, you were very passionate about. Was it something you did with your dad? Was like he into the original series?
Well,
and like family time, you watched the show, or you kind of did it on your own?
It's mostly on my own. I mean, like my dad, watched it when it was on, I guess, when I had it on or something like that, and he had some affinity for it and knew what he was talking about, what the show was about. But it was mostly kind of something I was immersed in. Yeah, right. I mean, I just look, I'm just looking at the interesting ship designs at the time. There was like interesting species.
Pretty radical. Yeah.
Yeah, like the planets. It's like, I mean, I won't say I'm like a total astronomy buff, but space fascinated me since I was little, right? Like, I had so there were games. There was a CD-ROM game called Space Adventure 2. I actually have it right in front of me. It's called Space Adventure 2 by Knowledge Adventure.
Cool.
And it's like I'm looking at images of celestial objects in the reference section and learning something about it. Like the moons of planets and like some nebulas and some galaxies. That kind of thing. So that kind of stuff was just super exciting for me. And this fictionalized setting of Star Trek in which to explore these kind of worlds is just irresistible to me. And the characters are great and the interactions they have. And it was a really the characters really were well written for the time.
For the time. Yeah. I mean, so you started off obviously in the PX. It was the original series, I would assume.
Yep.
And then you got into the next generation.
Yeah, mostly Next Generation and DS9 and Voyager all at once.
Yeah,
By the
I
time
think they
we
were all
went,
running at the same time.
yeah, and I think Enterprise was just starting. I think when we came to the US, so
Right.
I made sure to catch enough of that. So
I mean, as I say, I love the movies. I love the original series. A friend of mine used to say Captain Picard was his dad. Like he was so passionate
yeah,
about the Next
right.
Generation.
Yeah, ironically, Picard was never dead.
And ironically, it wasn't. I got into Voyager later. I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
The only one that I've struggled with, and I'm being very honest about this, has
Yeah.
been Deep Space Nine.
Okay, and in what way?
Well, for one thing, I saw Babylon 5. And the first series of Deep Space Nine is basically Babylon 5. So, but I saw Babylon 5 before. So because I was kind of like, they're ripping this off.
Well, I heard something about Babylon 5 that, I think, Deep Space Nine was going to be, well, a space station show at first, but then they kind of decided to back off on it, and the idea was sold off to Babylon 5. But then the Star Trek people decided to do it up again. So there's like these two space station series going on at once.
Exactly.
Right.
So as I say, I struggled. My co-host, as you know, Amos, he is a huge Star Trek fan, and he doesn't let me up on the fact that I haven't finished Deep Space Nine.
Right. Yeah.
To be fair, I think I made it to like the beginning of season 4.
First
think
season syndrome, right? I mean, they always have that first season to kind of pick up speed and start to get better. Because truthfully, Next Generation was like that, right? And Voyager was like that. Even Enterprise was like that. So it's like the first season, it needs to kind of pick up before it starts to really get good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I do admit that I have not finished Deep Space Nine, so do forgive me, all Trekkies out there. Right. I'll probably get to it eventually. It's not the most important thing right now.
Right, sure. But is it just the stuck in the space station thing that's getting you here? That's kind of preventing you from?
I think that's part of it because, I think the exploration and the encounters and stuff like that was a big part of it. Right. I do know that they do more of that later on.
Right, yeah. There are some great episodes of Deep Space Nine, by the way. There's some irresistible episodes downright.
I've been told. I mean, some of them have been really good. Definitely exploring some like the economics and what's his name? Quark, I think, is the guy running.
Is one of my favorite characters ever in the entirety of Trek. Like, because here's the other, because I speak as a fan of Deep Space Nine. The other problem with Deep Space Nine, it's more a macrocosmic version of some of the misguided politics that I admit Trek does have, because it's trying to do this kind of utopian, we don't need money anymore kind of a thing,
Yes.
And oh my God, the Ferengi get such a bad rap. Like, they wrote them into complete misogynists and capitalists, and like, we don't let our women wear clothing, so we must be the evil race. So, but it's there is some bad stuff there that we can tolerate, and it was its own version of woke that we can kind of laugh at and call stupid. But now we get into the latest iteration of Trek, like Discovery and Picard, and that's like the norm now, like this woke horse shit. It's completely new levels. I watched the first season of Discovery. I vowed never to watch any more Discovery and Picard again. I'm not going to give CBS All Access any more money. So most of my information since then has been secondhand, but it's like not surprising. This looks terrible.
I know. I don't know what's his name. Derek Kurtzman, Alex Kurt. Yeah, fucking guy. So I mean, he's destroyed the Star Trek universe in a nutshell. But before we get into Kurtzman Trek, so what were some of the things that you really enjoyed? The message behind Star Trek, apart from, I mean, every little boy wants to be an astronaut.
Right.
The space side of it is always going to be exciting. Mm-hmm. Did you like draw any meaning from it, or like was this something you felt maybe like some people take it really seriously and they dress in the costumes? Did you ever take it that seriously to draw any kind of life lessons from it?
The biggest life lesson I got from that was that humanity has a future to look forward to.
I love it.
Right.
I absolutely love it.
Yeah. We're the people are still near and dear to Earth, but they're at the same time, they're just expanded their, presence in their corner of the galaxy. Right. And that I see it as a good thing, like it's there's new frontiers to, look forward to, and new challenges, that kind of thing. And it's just, this idea that existence is not limited to the day-to-day mundanities, if that's even a word.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just more interesting things and challenges to encounter. And and I have to admit, though, it's like, for a short while in my teenage years, I kind of considered myself almost a Star Trek socialist at the time, right? Because
Yes.
what do we need money for? Look at Star Trek here. This is going on. And then I kind of came to my senses and realized that money and making profit is actually a good thing, even morally. So it's like there's that bit of criticism I have about the show, but it's so good that you can at least take the good and and still enjoy the show.
Agreed. I mean, a lot of people try to point to Star Trek as some kind of communist utopia, which it isn't, because Picard owns an estate. There's still property rights that would appear. Things belong to the Federation.
Exactly, right.
So the economics of it makes absolutely no sense. As a friend of mine says, there's AM and FM. AM is actual machines and FM is fucking magic. Star Trek is fucking magic, right?
Exactly, right. Because in Deep Space Nine, they had to kind of go around this whole post-scarcity thing by establishing something called latinum, and latinum can't be replicated without it completely falling apart or something like that. That's why the Ferengi trade into stuff.
I see.
And they even refer to it as worthless gold. Gold is worthless because it's just replicated.
You could replicate it,
right, yeah.
I didn't know that about the latinum. That's an interesting point. I'll have to get to that point.
Yeah, sure.
But with that said, Star Trek was never afraid to be political in the past.
Right.
And as we know, the first interracial kiss between
Plato's stepchildren.
Correct, right?
Yep.
They address a lot of issues about racism with different races. Like I think there was one that was white and black on one side and it was reversed on the other, and they had these battles.
Right. Well, but it's more timeless and like it's something that everyone can kind of get something out of. It's not denigrating the other, because now that's what things like Discovery and Picard is about. It's about self-shame and attacking the audience for berating them and stuff like that. It's just that's what it is. It's this kind of like I don't know if I should call it paternalistic or maternalistic. It's like really you are naughty for existing. It's just this shame inducing cynicism. That's all it is right now, but it wasn't before.
Correct. I mean, they hit on very social issues. They addressed the Cold War. They addressed racism. They addressed a number of, but it was all part of the story.
Right.
It wasn't in your face. It was meant to bring up a bigger discussion, which I think was fantastic. And I agree with you. Since Kurtzman Trek, that legacy has been lost, and Gene Roddenberry is probably turning in his grave.
Right.
So let's do a little bit.
Roddenberry is turning in his grave so much that it will power warp drive.
Yeah, it would like power the US for eternity. Right. So okay, let's get into your first exposure to Kurtzman Trek.
Okay, sorry. Did you have more to talk?
No. Yeah.
Right. So actually, I'll be perfectly honest. The first technical exposure to Kurtzman Trek was the 2009 movies, the Kelvin Timeline one, because he had a part in that one too. And at the time, we were kind of starved for Star Trek and thought, what an awesome movie and stuff like that. And I'll be perfectly honest. Although I may not consider it canon, at least I can watch it. The Kelvin Timeline movies. Like, I don't consider it to be like vast works of art, but at least it's something to kind of chat about. And they reference this or something like that. I don't know. The Into Darkness I had a very, very bad first impression of, because it was just pure fan service. Now just because you're juxtaposing Spock and Kirk, one of them going Khan and other ones like
reversing what was it, Wrath of Khan?
Exactly.
Star Trek 2.
And there's some stupid stuff like Khan has magic, life-giving blood. And here's the thing. I'm gonna go on a tangent about Into Darkness. When I first saw, I guess, previews and like stills from what the hell is his name? Benedict
Cumberbatch.
Cumberbatch. Yeah. Like, who would have guessed that would be Khan?
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. Like, so you had the blonde Alice Eve, right? And you had Benedict Cumberbatch. When I first saw this, I thought this was going to be a remake of Where No Man Has Gone Before. The second pilot of the original series. I thought it was going to be that take. I thought Benedict Cumberbatch was going to be Gary Mitchell.
Right. Yeah, that would make sense. Yes.
Right. And the blonde is Elizabeth Denner. Right.
Yes.
Right. Like, but Khan, come on now.
I mean, for those who don't know, so Khan was from originally in the original series. They basically found a drifting spaceship with people in suspended animation that would all been enhanced for battle, for war. These were warriors and so forth. So the Khan timeline, for anybody who's doesn't know the pre-Kurtzman time thing, and then they reintroduced the same actor, if I'm not mistaken, in the movie.
Yes.
So obviously he's a bit older and stuff like that. And I think yeah, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Yeah. So it's iconic.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that was it. I was fighting for the name. So this is an iconic character, right? It traversed through the original series, and it made it into the actual films and canonized, and the famous scene, of course, Khan.
Yeah.
So all right, we get the Kelvin timeline. They've changed things. They reintroduce him, and I agree with you. It was weak in terms of Cumberbatch as Khan.
Right.
I didn't like how, and again, because Hollywood is bankrupt, they don't have any creativity, right?
Yeah.
It was a cheap remake of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
It was, it's just fan service, It's
yes,
right. They injected a tribble with Khan's magic blood to bring it back to life, a dead tribble to bring it back to life, and that's how Kirk is, brought back to life himself. So that was completely pointless. That whole Khan's.
Yeah, nothing had meaning. There was really no consequence. It was pretty ridiculous.
Right. Exactly right.
So moving in, I agree with you. The movie's not great. But like you say, I was starved for some good Star Trek.
I think we all were.
Yeah. Since I think it was Nemesis was the last one with the Next Generation, and
yes,
I don't know, maybe 5-10 years since then they kind of reintroduced the franchise. Have the timing wrong, but I was grateful to see it, and I love that they were going back to the original crew. Right? I think they did great picking the actors. I thought Bones was fantastic. He was the actor that played him.
He was good, and the first two movies, I thought the Spock McCoy chemistry was lacking, but they did kind of make that up in Star Trek Beyond. They did a little bit of that, which was
they did. Yeah, absolutely. Christopher Pike, of course, I thought he did excellent as Kirk. So there were a lot of good things with. I think it was J.J. Abrams who did it when he kind of retold the story.
Yeah, basically.
So yeah, I agree. Watchable, not the greatest. All right, some of them really fell on the face, but hey, it's Star Trek. It's not too bad. It's thing.
Right.
Now, CBS obviously made the decision to now migrate to television, and they made Kurtzman the showrunner for Star Trek Discovery. Did you have any exposure? What did you think when you first heard the announcements, and then what did you think when you first saw it?
Okay, so they made the announcements, right? So I honestly think that I know there's the STD thing that we can make fun of, but
yeah, the trope,
Discovery would not have been a bad name for a ship or a series,
Agreed.
So that's just enough to kind of get me curious. Then I saw the preview, I guess of the ship, and I realized something. It's a failed version of a past ship that they were considering for a previous show.
Right.
I think it was supposed to be like a failed design of the Enterprise, honestly, because for good reason, it didn't.
Yeah, of course.
And then I figured out then I realized that this was supposed to take place before the original series. Well, in between Christopher Pike's The Cage and the original series. This looks like something out of post Nemesis. Everything looks so
new.
Captain Picard would shit his pants when he saw any of that kind of stuff. It's like it's just like
it screwed the timeline up completely.
Right, exactly. Holy shit! Like the Enterprise episode "In a Mirror Darkly." That's the moment. It's exclusively in the Mirror Universe, right?
Yeah.
That was such a tribute to the original series because, it's like, I know it's in the Mirror Universe, but they took that ship from the original series episode, the Tholian Web, and it was 100% up to specs. It's like, it was like it was pulled straight from that episode. Everything was faithfully done, and it looked like the future from the timeline of the Enterprise crew, even though it is in the mirror universe. So there was so much love in that thing. But look at Discovery and stuff like that, and because by the time we get to season 2, we get the Enterprise, I think, and it's like they were embarrassed of its past. They had to gloss everything up, make everything look different, and it's like they were ashamed of what Star Trek was. We're going to try and market this to a new generation. So never mind the original series. We got look flashy action and the interior of a ship that puts a Borg cube to shame. I mean, it's like in terms of size, it's like
yes,
like God, like
yeah. I mean, there was so much that was wrong with it, and even in the sense of, as you say, the technology. So, spoiler alert for anybody who doesn't know. Wait, this deserves to be spoiled. the interdimensional spore drive that is introduced in Star Trek, and for those who don't know, it is a transportation system that basically allows a starship to transport itself instantaneously to pretty much any other point in the galaxy. And if they had made a show with that storyline and it wasn't Star Trek, I probably wouldn't have had a problem.
Or if it's post Nemesis.
Or even it was, because that in introducing such advanced technology, as you say, this is after the original, but not even, it's before the original series.
Before the original proper.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that is more advanced technology than we've seen in any other canon.
Right.
And it's never revisited. Like, this is the problem of Kurtzman Trek, is that it pays no respect to the canon. And it basically shits on everything that's come before, right? So none of that stuff really measures up to what they had in the past.
Exactly. Right.
So that was a huge disappointment. If it was another show, it probably would have worked for me. But because of that, I started to unplug. But that was only the surface number of problems we had in Discovery. So what was your take?
Well, I guess in the first 3 episodes, the general impression I got was that everybody is so damn shady. It's like, what are we looking at here? Is this really Starfleet here? I mean, it's like, it's the attitudes come from people behind the scenes that, want to have this cynical outlook on society. It's like, the Klingons look terrible. And, I have a personal theory why they're bald. Is because they wanted them to be skinheads.
Right. It was like some of the politics getting into it. Yes.
Right. Yeah. They were trying to make allegorize them as per what they think were MAGA people.
Yeah. Trump.
So it's like, this is what is meant by, it's like, it's not a timeless sort of political story that we can all kind of derive something off of. This is just someone insulting one and shaming the other side just for having a different opinion.
Correct.
Right. Now, about the technology, by the way, that was another big thing. Like this is outrageous technology, and sometimes impractical, and because it's like so here's the thing. I'm gonna go on record here. The reason I think that original series looked, in my headcanon, the original series looked this way is because in their timeline, they didn't have Star Trek.
Exactly.
Right. That's why, in the cage, they're still using paper readers and stuff like that, and more analog buttons in the rest of the series and stuff like that. They didn't have Star Trek. How are they to know how to do any of this kind of stuff before?
No, it's brilliant. So, I mean, and one of the other things that Kurtzman did, which I thought was, I don't know if I mind it, but it does bother me, is that he moved away from the team dynamic of Star Trek.
Right.
So it's always been kind of following the storyline of the bridge crew. You had the captain and his inner circle sort of thing.
Yes.
And that was kind of how most of the story was told.
Right.
They completely flipped that in this respect and basically start off with Michael Burnham, who is a prisoner.
Right.
And they do this, attempt some kind of redemption arc that, is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's completely, like hashed together. Nobody knows what they're doing. Like Mikey Burnham, it's like some call her Mikey Spock. Yeah, by the way, she is Spock's adoptive sister.
Yes. The only reason Spock is the man he is because of this chick. That's the trope that comes through.
So stupid. I mean, you thought, Spock having his half-brother Cybok was out of left field enough. Get a load of this. It's like, right. So, where was I going with this? But yeah, it's just the thing is, it's centered around a bad character and a bad storyline. Like if you can write a good story, then maybe that whole deviation from the norm would have worked just fine, right? But we had original series and I suppose Enterprise center around the captain and his crew, kind of in that setting, as you said, and TNG and so Next Generation, DS9, and Voyager were more of that, but it allowed more for introspective for the other characters and stuff like that. Instead of just kind of getting I suppose in original series it was more about Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, and maybe Scott. Right, so it was more, it was a more close knit, but the group got bigger as the shows went on. So. But this, Discovery thing, I had zero idea what was going on.
And you hit on the best, well, not the best, but the worst part of it, which is Michael Burnham is brilliant at everything, right? It is the definition of a Mary Sue, who is more Spock than Spock, more captain than the captain, it's just over the top ridiculous, right?
Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, might as well just replace Mary Sue with Mikey Burnham or Mikey Spock. I'm all for having that habit going on here.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that was for me. I wish to God they didn't call it Star Trek. Call it any other show. Apart from everything else, and her being a terrible character, it might have worked for something else.
Right. My personal theory as to why it was set before original series to begin with was because the 09 movies kind of tried to get back the Kirk Spock team, I suppose, because I don't know, I guess they wanted to market the old stuff because they thought they were being fan servicey or something like that. So maybe that's why they wanted to give it in close proximity to the original series. That's my personal theory as to why they can't just have this thing post Nemesis, right? So, and I'm still not fond of post Nemesis because technically 2009 Star Trek is also post Nemesis because it follows from the real timeline, goes back and into an alternate timeline. Yeah.
Correct.
So they aren't rebooting completely. It's still technically canon, which I don't even know what to think about that. I thought at the time, that's what you need to do because you need to keep the story going, even if it is in an alternate timeline. But I'm kind of thinking, what's the point? You blew up Romulus. I mean,
it didn't work. And then, of course, we got, as I say, apart from having the Mary Sue character, I'm sure you noticed this as a gentleman who's well involved in the men's rights activism.
Right.
There was a huge push for like the lady power, the women are behind the men, and there was always like this attempt to make the women the saviors and all these other types of things. Did you see that?
So the higher ups of Starfleet are usually women, right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. And ironically, the thing is that they're more jerkish, more overbearing.
They're terrible.
Right. Exactly. Right. And and with the whole, so if you're more familiar with the Cage group, how do I put it? Like, so in addition to Mikey Spock being the reason Spock's the way he is, another person is number freaking one. It's like she was they were trying to build off of the fact that the prototypical Spock in the original The Cage was a little bit more emotive than the almost computer cold number one. Except number one in the original was pretty cool, but it's like and mysterious. But this new one doesn't look mysterious at all. But she's supposed to be like the other reason that Spock is the more logical and stuff like that. So I mean.
Yeah, the female empowerment thing got really overbearing.
Right, it did. You know, like we can't understand what is woke and what isn't anymore now that the woke is introduced. You know.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I there was I think the point when I kind of switched it off. I was like you. I watched the first season of Discovery, and I stopped at just before the last episode. Right.
Okay.
Because it was just pissing me off. Right. Yeah. The ladies are gonna save the captain. You know, it's all of this sort of thing. Anyway, eventually I see, they're gonna bring in Christopher Pike, which anybody knows that is the captain of the Enterprise before Kirk, and the whole story with him. So it's like, oh god, that means I gotta finish the series, and so I watched the last episode, and Christopher Pike shows up. And I got to, I think the first or second episode in season 2, there's some object that they need to reach, and it's through some kind of debris field. And Christopher Pike and, of course, Burnham and all these other people are there flying through this debris field to get to this object. I can't remember what it was. And his ship gets damaged. And Burnham puts out some kind of comment like, "We're going to rescue him, aren't we, ladies?" And at that very moment, I just click. But ironically, my flatmate kept watching. So every so often I'd walk into the living room and it's on and stuff like that. And I caught another scene, I guess, coming closer to the end of it, where Christopher Pike, I think the ship gets hit by some explosive device, and Christopher Pike and some female admiral go down to disarm this explosive, and they can't disarm it. And Christopher Pike is like, "You get out of here. I'm gonna, stay here." And she
know what you're talking about.
And she basically is like, "This is not your time to die. Get the fuck out. I'm gonna be the hero," right? And he walks off. Really, it was sheepish. He looked disgraced. They shit on the character.
They do. It's like, it's just, he's a complete milquetoast compared to the Jeffrey Hunter Christopher Pike. Jeffrey Hunter Christopher Pike is one of the most intimidating people ever in Star Trek.
Badass, yeah.
Right.
And they completely undid it. And again, the idea is the only reason these people are so loved in the first season and the movies and so forth is because these women made them who they are.
Right, it's silly. It's like now, recalling back to the original Cage, like it's kind of the opposite. It's like these two, in the scene where the women get transported into Picard Pike's cell, like the freaking Telosian kind of blabs like the women's fantasies about Pike. So in this one, he's more kind of a well, I hate to use the word, but chick magnet.
yeah, exactly.
But it's like, and Pike's is still, all I want to do is just kill you. You've told me.
It is crazy. As I say, I stopped after the couple episodes in season 2. I caught bits and pieces. But then there was another Kurtzman experiment, which I think a lot of people were very upset about. And of course, we're talking about Picard. Taking one of the most iconic captains and beloved characters and reintroducing a solo movie. And what were your thoughts when you heard about the announcement, and what did you think when you started, if you watched it at all?
I did not watch it, but as soon as I heard it, I knew it was going to be bad. Like screwed up Discovery, this is going to be bad too. They screwed up original series stuff. Now they're going to screw up next
generation stuff. Yeah, it's a trend.
Right. And it's like, Patrick Stewart was completely in on this shit.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Like respect plummeted for him. Right. He's just a out of touch idiot as far as I'm concerned. After he's just pontificating about this is about current events and Trump and stuff like that. Everything's about Trump. It's like it's just
Trump derangement is alive and well in Hollywood for sure.
Exactly right. For the record, I do not consider Discovery or Picard or anything that's going to come from this Trek world canon. So so yeah,
I agree. So I mean, as you said, Patrick Stewart came out and made a number of political statements before the show. Yep. I knew it was going to be bad. My co-host Amos says like, no, we got to watch it. We got to talk about it on the show. So it's like, all right, I'm going to subject myself to watching Picard. and it was worse than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And I'll say this about it. Again, of course, the women are all in charge.
Of course.
And the series really should have been called Women in Charge Shouting and Screaming at Picard While He Apologizes.
Right.
Right? That is the real thing. Everywhere he went, he was weak, feeble, just uninspiring, just a shell of his former character.
Mhm.
And he's always being lectured to by his higher ups, his co-pilot, all of these women and all these other types of things.
Mhm.
And he had no real, like, he didn't even have to be there, right?
No, he's just there for, yeah, you have a point. Like, there's no reason for him to be there.
No, there really isn't, right? It's fan service, and
right. It's like he screwed up, and well, he screwed up. That's how he's written. I'm not saying that he really did screw up. I'm just saying that's how he's made out to be this nothing but mistakes person. That it's like, I mean, they're going on about synthetics versus organics. They're pushing the whole organic privilege thing. Guess what's that? Guess what? That's an analogy of course. It's like, and there was some articles that saying that this is about Picard used to be really experienced and skilled. So this show is about is fighting against skilled and able privilege. So. or something to that effect. It's just like there's no. I mean, you can power New York City with the amount of frustrations, that this show can induce in people.
I agree. It's nerve-wracking. It didn't make a lot of sense, but worse than that, it shit on an iconic character. He's nothing like the Picard that we saw in The Next Generation. Exactly. As I said, my friend thought Picard was his dad. He was like heartbroken when he saw this.
Yeah, right. Now, to be absolutely fair, like no Trek series is perfect, right?
Correct.
Right, and because of course we love the original Picard, but even I thought he was a bit snooty, like
of course.
He was kind of like that nonsense is centuries behind us, and we've evolved around personal possessions and money and stuff like that. But the series was good enough that we can kind of get through that, kind of laugh at that maybe if we're smart enough, and it's like just, but still we can recognize that that's kind of a pipe dream, this whole utopian kind of an idea. But this is worse. I'd rather have snooty Picard all day than milk toast here.
Yeah, and I mean they've just, I think they've launched the trailer for season 2. I am not looking forward to it. I'll see what my friend Amos says if we got to watch it and do a review. But it was really out of its elements, and the problem was that they brought in a lot of the old characters. So 7 of 9 from Voyager is in it. Of course, she's a lesbian.
Of course.
Right, they did bring in Riker and Troy. That was pretty good. And for some reason, there's an unknown brother to Dr. Sung that looks exactly like Brent Spiner that nobody knew of course, and he's like dealing with the synthetics and all this sort of thing.
Jesus Christ.
And I mean, they de-age him for a couple dater scenes and stuff. You could
like don't do like a really really old fat guy. Don't do that. Just get another actor already. It's like that. I mean, I thought they were pushing it in the next gen movies anyway, even though I kind of understand that Brent Spiner had to be in there. But at this point, just quit.
Yeah. It was tough. So I mean, I stomached through it. I didn't particularly like it. I hate what they did to more so because of what they've done to the legacy of these characters.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
And this has been a continuing trend, the politics of wokeness, of female empowerment, of demonizing old white men. All of these tropes have become basically mainstream in Hollywood. Right. And we're seeing it more and more in Star Trek. We're seeing it in a number of other series.
Yes.
I mean, have you noticed it anywhere outside of Star Trek recently?
Now, here's the thing. Most of this is secondhand info, right? Because
because you're not going to watch it.
Because the very problem, I'm not bothering to watch this thing. Actually,
good man.
The latest thing I watched, and the only thing I've watched for a long time and enjoyed, was the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, because it didn't really bother with that kind of
I heard it was good. I haven't seen it, but I heard it was good. Yeah, even
It's
Detective Pikachu I heard was pretty good. But
I haven't seen it. I mean, like, so as someone who grew up with Pokemon, it was kind of weird to see live action Pokemon. But
yeah, of course.
But that's why I don't know if I was kind of on the fence about seeing it, but I might. It seems okay.
Yeah, I heard it was okay.
Okay, yeah.
But Sonic the Hedgehog, entertaining story, none of this kind of woke politics. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to part 2. And Jim Carrey, for all his faults, was actually pretty funny in that.
Yeah, fantastic. As what is it, Dr. Robotnik is?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, right. Brilliant. I haven't seen it. On your recommendation, I will check it out. Hopefully, it's very entertaining.
I do actually recommend it. It actually is pretty enjoyable. The story is decent. Like better than decent, actually. It's just but. I'm more excited about the second one because more of the Sonic characters will be there. Because this time, aside from Robotnik, it's just Sonic and some humans.
Right. Yeah, I've seen some of the stills. But so, what have you heard secondhand about some of the other films and
well,
series?
I've heard that Wonder Woman, the new Wonder Woman, was just a complete Me Too nightmare.
You haven't seen it?
I haven't. I don't think I will. Subscribe to our patrons. Like, throw me some money if you want me to sit through this garbage.
Exactly. Did you see the first one though? Did you watch the first one?
I'm not big into superhero movies. Actually, I have not seen the first one, but I do have some trivia knowledge about Wonder Woman. That her origins were a writer who was kind of polyamorous with these 2 women, including his wife and mistress or something like that. And Wonder Woman was kind of constructed as this sort of, whereas men use force, we women use compassion, that kind of a thing. So
yes.
it's on that premise alone, it's kind of hard for me to kind of back this character, or, but I was, I didn't want to be too mean to it in case it's kind of grown past that, but I'm not seeing this. I'm not seeing that happening anytime soon, especially if these movies keep happening,
Indeed. Right. I'll say this. The original Wonder Woman was actually very well done. Wasn't perfect, had a lot of problems, but Zack Snyder was very much involved in the writing.
Sure.
I think Patty Jenkins is the lady who she worked on that one, and then she got like sole control of the second.
Okay.
So for a while, Wonder Woman, the original, was the best DC movie that had actually come out.
Okay.
So it's worth watching, because what they didn't do was they didn't shit on the men. Like, obviously she's hyper powerful and stuff. They give her a good hero's arc, fish out of water, leaving Themyscira, coming to the world and stuff. So it worked. And as I said, the men were not useless. The men, even though they couldn't do what she could do, they were competent. They had sacrifice and stuff. So you might actually enjoy it. When it came to the second one, oh my God, it was bad. And I wanted to like this movie, right? I really, I want DC to work. I love a lot of these characters. I'm not big into comics and stuff, but I love good entertainment. So, but as you say, it became convoluted. The politics came into it. There was supposed to be like a Trump character again. Here we go again. More Trump. And it kind of fell flat. And how the whole thing was resolved was very fempowerment. It's kind of like, the emotions and, the woman saves the day sort of thing. Very disappointed.
Of course.
Very, very disappointed. What else have you kind of dabbled in that you've heard some of the rumors about?
Let's see. Well,
I mean, the big one was Captain Marvel. I don't know if you didn't watch it.
Well, clearly I haven't seen it, but it's like sorry, I made you laugh when you were
that's good.
but yeah, it just looked like Brie Larson just looked like, I don't want to see her in anything.
Did you see her in King Kong? Was it Skull Island?
I don't know. Like I don't know what else she's been in, but like why do I want to see this kind of character? It's like
there was nothing endearing about her. She was deadpan. It was but I mean obviously this was how do I say this? This was the movie just before, of course, the end game, which was the culmination and stuff. And I think Marvel just wanted to make some money. So they threw an unnecessary film. They put this character in there.
Yeah.
and
Well,
nobody liked it.
right. Yeah. But the thing is, it's like, since you mentioned what I've been dabbling in, well, like this seems like a long time coming. It's not just in the past few years. It's like the past decade, if not longer. It's like, because like I actually watched the very first Avengers movie, by the way, back when it came out. And
Right.
well, maybe it's because I hate Joss Whedon, but I don't know. Like, here's the thing about his style. It's like, take an expectation and flip it in a really, how do I put it? It's like, ha, gotcha, you're stupid kind of a way. It's
Yes.
like I remember the scene with Black Widow being tied up in a chair, and but really she's actually in on this
Sting
operation.
operation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, they're trying to force in this whole feminist shit. It's with that. So and the whole movie was like, insert one liner here, one liner there, and it's like, I don't know. I just had a hard time enjoying it because it felt like for these bite-sized moments instead of a story.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Like Iron Man randomly talks about shawarmas or something like that. That is like, where did that come from? It's like, oh, remember that scene? That kind of stuff. It's like, so there's a level of pandering that prioritizes scenes like this over overall story. If you have a good story, then the one-liners are natural at least, or those moments are, can be reflected on with more fondness. But I don't know. Like, I guess my theory about how this woke stuff kind of caught on was because at the time, woke wasn't really a thing. I guess so it got introduced in small doses, and by the time people got used to it, we're here already with Wonder Woman 1984 and such. And the Ghostbusters movie, and
I was about to say the Ghostbusters. And this is the thing. So obviously a lot of these movies and films and series are not doing financially well. From all the numbers we could tell, Wonder Woman 1984 is probably not as successful.
I've heard it was a bomb.
Basically, it's a bomb. I mean, it's hard to know because it was during the pandemic, and so it's hard to tell. But yeah, I would agree that a lot of these types of things are not being successful. And we've had a couple of ironic hits that have come out that have been pretty successful just based on the story. So of course, a lot of these directors are screaming because these movies fail because men hate women.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, you can't win. It's like an Uwe Boll scheme. It's like, you make more outrageous stuff and then keep on getting money for sequels because it's like, no, we didn't really fail. It was just because men hate women. Right.
The toxic fandom, as they say.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I don't know if you saw the recent Star Wars that came out. The three new releases from Disney. So you got The Force Awakens, The Last Jedi, and I can't remember, Rise of Skywalker or something.
Okay. Now, since I'm more of a Trek guy than a Wars guy, I was gonna watch the Wars at a later point, but to date I haven't. So, I mean, maybe I will. And here's the thing, because when I was a kid, things like the Phantom Menace first came out and stuff like that, right? And here's the weird thing, I wasn't the certified Wars fan that was supposed to hate the Phantom Menace and everything. I didn't think it was all that bad, in retrospect, I understand some of the criticisms and stuff like that, but compared to the newest garbage, they're pretty good, I thought.
Yeah, the prequels have actually survived pretty well.
Right.
And I have another confession. I saw The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and I have not seen the last one.
Rise of
Skywalker.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I'm not going to. Right? They shit all over the fans. They shit all over Luke in the film that they did. And again, Rey is a Mary Sue with no training, no backstory, no history, is better at the Force and better at fighting and better at everything, could fly the Millennium Falcon, can do all of these ridiculous things from go, just like, she just jumps on the screen.
Yeah. Here's one thing I've noticed about these new movies though that tried to kind of follow up on what the past was. Like everybody that was good keeps on dying from the
Yes.
past. Like these movies are killing off past characters, like trying to like close the door on them. It's the same. So it looks like wars, people are dying, and
Yes.
and Star Trek people are dying. Like I heard that Icheb from Voyager was mutilated to death in Picard, I think.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my god!
exactly.
Right, and it's like they're trying to shut the door brutally on the past. It's like they're embarrassed by it.
Exactly. And in the new Picard series, they want to reintroduce Q to come in
Yeah, I
some
heard that.
capacity.
Yeah.
And the fans are like, please don't. Please, for the love of God, do not Kurtzmanize Q, because they know that's exactly what it is. You're going to shit on another character that is
Right.
beloved by the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And it would seem that they're more interested in, as you say, pushing agendas, shitting on the fans, killing the past,
Yes.
than actually making money by having a good story and a good movie.
Right.
And I think a very good example of that. I don't know. Again, you're not really into the superhero movies, but it is a win for the fans.
Sure.
One was Sonic the Hedgehog, right? Because the original rendering of Sonic was not really very good, and the fans spoke out.
Well, that's I don't know where you were going with this, but that's kind of it brings up an interesting question, though. It's like, should a studio be what it originally sets out to be and fail on that count, or should it place more primacy on the fans? Because coming as somebody from my background who wants to believe in my work and stick to my own thing, it's like it kind of runs contrary to me to just kind of listen to fans and see what they want. But then at the same time, this time it paid off for the Sonic ones, because maybe they had a very bad idea, which it was, and they kind of decided to kind of, well, I mean, here's the thing. I guess when it comes to Sonic, you kind of have to be faithful because it's pre-established. It's like, so you can't really take too many liberties on it. So this time it was the right decision, but I do think the question needs to be asked about that.
Yeah, completely agree, and that's it. I mean, once upon a time, Hollywood made movies for their audience. Now it's flipped. So and the second major victory, and I have to admit it turned out to be really good, was the rebooting of the Snyderverse with his Justice League remake that came out on HBO Max. And again, it's a victory for the fans, because anybody who doesn't know the story, Zack Snyder filmed basically a 4-hour Justice League. His daughter died in the middle of the process, and he stepped away from it, and they brought in Josh Whedon to finish it. And Josh Whedon did what he did, basically what you criticized him for doing in the Avengers, which is like always being snappy and kind of breaking the fourth wall a little bit, and not really having the weight of the story, right? It's always kind of tongue-in-cheek sort of thing.
Right.
And for all intents and purposes, that flopped. It did not do what they wanted it to do.
Right.
And the fans started the campaign of release the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
For years, I don't know how many years it's been now, 3, maybe 4 years since the cut is the original.
Right.
And it was a victory for the fans. And from all intents and purposes, the streaming and so forth, it's considered a hit. It is one. It crashed the servers at HBO Max. I don't know, again, because it's hard to judge, because it's not in the box office. But I'm hopeful that the studios are realizing you gotta listen to the fans. Right. What are you optimistic that lesson will ever be driven home, or are we doomed?
Right. I mean, it's something that needs to. So because of my kind of conflicting thoughts on that kind of thing, I think it needs to be balanced properly. Like if
of course,
like if it's primarily, if it's something that's trying to market to these pre-existing fans, then yes, I think that makes sense to kind of like get a gauge on them, I suppose.
Yes.
And be sure it's not just an abomination or something like that, just because somebody thought it was a good idea for some reason, right? Yeah. Yes. I mean, but when you're starting up something, then like you don't really have any fans to begin with, and it's kind of like you have to kind of. So there is a quote from the Fountainhead that really applies. Iron Man's Fountainhead, that really applies here. I don't build in order to have clients. I have clients in order to build. And for when I first read that, I didn't really get it, but over time, I kind of realized that it was about it's not about pandering to an audience that dictates whatever you do to just to make money, but rather establish yourself and find the clients that you can market this towards. So I have like say I'll start up a movie, and I have a great idea. Now it's time for me to find that audience. I don't find the audience first and make a movie for them, because that's just pandering.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. But there's a balance to be struck with more pre-established things, because if you take too many liberties and turn it into something else, like Star Trek, then it's going to be bad. So there's a balance to be had there.
I would completely agree, and a very good example of that, the recent Mortal Kombat movie that's come out. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen the Mortal Kombat? No.
But is it better?
Is it better than what?
Well, Wonder Woman, say.
Oh yeah, no, okay. I'll say this: it's definitely a lot of fan service.
Okay.
But it's not a great movie. It's good. It's entertaining. You can watch it, and I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan.
Sure.
So I think they could have made a couple other choices, but this is a very good example of what you're talking about. There is a pre-existing fandom to the Mortal Kombat franchise.
Right.
And anybody who doesn't know, there was a movie released in 1995 or thereabouts, which was a Mortal Kombat, but it didn't have what was iconic about Mortal Kombat, which was the blood and guts and the gore of, killing the characters, right?
Yeah.
It was rated PG-13 or whatever it was.
Right.
So they fixed that. They fixed that big time, and even the trailer is rated R because there's blood and guts. Yeah. I love the trailer. The trailer's better than the movie. But so I get it. They're trying to do both things. They're trying to reboot an entire franchise and have a bit of mass appeal. So, and I don't think they did it very well. I understand what they're trying to do because they introduced an entirely new characters as the audience window into this world, somebody they're introducing who's going to kind of open it up. It didn't really work for me. I think they could have done that with one of the existing characters, but you can see they're setting it up to like grow. So this is the test that you put out, as you said.
Yeah. Well, I think the mindset that should be for reboots, and I'm not saying that I'm particularly keen on reboots in general. Sometimes they're fine, but a good reboot has to extend previous characters, but not totally reinvent them in nonsensical ways just to appease an audience.
Exactly.
Like I think the best way to sum up my position is that, as an example, like if I'm writing an original story, I have creative. Total complete liberty and take it or leave it, kind of, right? But if I'm writing Star Trek fiction, I have to make it an extension of the pre-existing universe and kind of make it flow naturally from it, make it like more plausible that this sort of new fiction can happen in the same universe. And so that's my mindset on that one. If that answers your previous question.
Completely agree. I mean, otherwise, it's not really part of the canon, right? It's not,
exactly, right.
And they do have fan fiction. There's nothing wrong with that. There's fan fiction for Star Trek and Star Wars and all the big franchises and stuff. But as I say, originally, a lot of these things gained the support they had by having great stories.
Exactly.
And they've traded that in for preaching an agenda, it would seem at this point.
Right. So this reminds me of something. You know what really a really good fan-made like fiction that's a follow-up? It's I think it's called Star Trek Continues. It's the one with Vic Mignogna as Kirk.
I know I have. This is on YouTube, isn't it? It's like
I think it's on YouTube. Yeah,
I think it's like a fan-made. Yeah,
it is fan-made. It's got a bunch of celebrities in it, but I thought that was good. It really felt like the fourth season of Star Trek or the original series. Everything was pretty faithful, for lack of a better term, to the original series. It didn't try to gloss up some things or whatever. I mean, it had one bad episode that kind of was
put you off.
Yeah, which is about some women stuff. But aside from that, it was fine.
There's what was the other one a friend of mine introduced me to? Todd McFarlane's Star Trek. What is it called?
Seth MacFarlane.
Seth MacFarlane. Yeah.
The Orville. I actually had the first
The
season.
Orville.
Yeah, but I haven't seen it yet. Oh, my wife was telling me this the other day. It was like, hey, check out these like parallels with Star Trek and the Orville. And I'm saying like, this is from this Star Trek episode. This is from that Star Trek episode. It's like she's kind of jokingly tormenting me with this kind of stuff. It's like, I'm not saying that the Orville is bad. It's just, it looks like, wait a minute, this is exactly the plot of this episode. This is exactly the plot of that episode. I mean, I'll still watch it and I might enjoy it, And I'll confess that I'm not fond of Seth MacFarlane in general. I'm not a Family Guy guy, but
me either.
Right, but I'm willing to give him a shot on this one. Yeah.
I'll tell you why, because I was the same thing. I didn't particularly want to get into the series. I'm not a Family Guy person either. A lot of people send me the jokes, and I'm like, I don't get it.
Yeah, not my.
But he's doing it as a parody of Star Trek, right? But the original Star Trek.
So if it's not a parody, then it's understandable.
It is a parody, but it's also honoring in some ways the Star Trek. So there's a lot of inside jokes. Even there's a character that's I guess like I can't remember, it's a Moloch or something like that.
Okay.
And he gets an STD.
Right.
And they keep making the point, and that is a shit on Star Trek Discovery, right? Like he's doing it on purpose,
brilliant.
Right?
That's brilliant.
So there is and the I think the number one captain or whoever, she's pretty hot. So I do tend to enjoy Star Trek when there's pretty hot women in it. So,
right.
But that is how he's doing it. He's doing it, yes, as an homage, a kind of honoring to that, space opera genre, but he's also poking fun at it at the same time. And as you say, there's a lot of like, this is from Star Trek. You can see this story's from Star Trek, but he'll always put it in a twist that's kind of, I didn't think it was going to happen. Sure. Let me know if you get to see it. I'd love to know what you think.
I think I will sometime, hopefully soon, maybe. Yeah.
Has your wife been watching it? Why is she torturing you with the Orville?
She's on Tumblr, and before you ask, she's one of the saner people on Tumblr. Right, she's always kind of, it's like she's always like showing me all these gifs of Star Trek and other, she's a big regular media fan and stuff like that, so she's always kind of quoting them. So it's like, and she likes to torture me with Discovery era Spock.
Oh, that would be torture. That would be torture.
All good fun, of course, but
of course. I mean, she knows how to push your buttons as any good woman should, So I mean, are you optimistic though? Do you think that there's been enough, I guess, outcry, from people and so forth, that entertainment will go back to being entertainment? Or do you think we're in for more lecturing?
That's a difficult one. It's like there needs to be more visible pushback, I think. I think we're kind of recognizing the problem, but we're still there isn't. I mean, we need more traction on this one, I think. It's like more visible stuff put out there that fights this kind of thing, like not even in a reactionary way. We don't want to play their game, right? But just push back with better stories, and just let it speak for itself, I think. And we need more of that to combat it in a proper way. I'm not fond of using the left's tactics or anything like that. So yeah, that's just kind of my general thoughts on that one. I mean, I still think we got a few more hurdles to go across, I suppose.
Yeah, to really get that message home. And I fear in the near term you're probably right. So for instance, the Snyderverse that was released with, that's kind of been canceled. They're not gonna, even though it's been a success. Warner Media and I think AT&T bought them. They're not gonna pursue it.
Right.
We're hearing a lot of rumblings coming out of Marvel about the She-verse or whatever, the She universe, and it's gonna be all of it. So I think for at least the short term, we're going to start seeing more of this nonsense.
Yeah.
But I'm also hopeful that some independent creators, like what you discussed, this fan-made Star Trek. I know Ben Shapiro at the Daily Wire, he's put out a film. Right. I think I shared it with you, like Run, Hide, Fight, or something like that.
You did, yeah. I still haven't gotten around to seeing it just yet.
Yeah,
I need to be reminded.
Yeah. I'm hopeful that more independent creators come out and really push back. And just on a final thought, man, for those people out there saying you hate women in powerful roles or leads and stuff, what are some of the movies that you've liked that actually had a female lead at the end of the day?
At the end of the day, well, Voyager is a show that I like Voyager just fine.
Exactly.
It didn't try to force that in, but you said movies, so I'll try and avoid shows.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to think.
Aliens.
Well, I've seen Aliens. It was fine. I liked it. Yeah. Aliens 3 was okay, and Resurrections were kind of silly. It was, let's see. Well, I'm trying to think of other examples off the top of my head here.
Hunger Games.
I haven't seen those.
Yep. What's another one? Divergent. Haven't seen it.
Also haven't seen it. Yeah.
All right.
Not for any bad reason. I just haven't gotten around to a lot of movies. You know? Like the more something is hyped, the less chance I'll see it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But that has been the biggest, the biggest cries. Like, oh yeah, men hate women and all this nonsense. Like clearly you're married, you don't hate women.
Right.
And yeah, as I say, Captain Janeway was phenomenal. In fact, she was so good. Even my sister, who's not really into sci-fi, she really connected with Captain Janeway.
Right.
And they shit on her in Picard as well, which was also very disappointing.
Really?
Yeah. I think she made a cameo. Oh, it's terrible.
Right. Yeah.
But did you have any final thoughts, my friend?
No, I'm trying to look over at my DVD collection. If there's anything that's inspiring here. I mean, well, of course, they'll use this moment to prove that I don't have any.
Yeah, of course, this will be the part they cut out of context.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But just can't win. Just can't win sometimes.
Yeah.
But Vernon, I mean, we've done about an hour here. You are, of course, always a great guest to have. I always love your insight. How can the people get in touch with you and maybe recommend some films that you might need to check out? Okay,
well, so I'm on Gab, right? So I'm just V for Vernon on Gab. Okay, and that's really primarily the place that I put my thoughts on anything really nowadays. And Subscribestar is the way to support me, and so you can play a game with me, like Magic the Gathering or chess, and you can win a higher tier of benefit. One thing from a higher tier of benefits for that month. So I have some kind of setup going on there. That should be fun. You should definitely check that out. But you can do things like get like a drawn cartoon version of you from me. If you get a higher tier and early access to any new music. I actually have a new piece of music for my upcoming album that I'm still recording that's available for early listening for the $20 tier. So
fantastic. I think I have all of your links below. I'll double check on the Subscribestar. I think it might be there already, but
okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vernon, V for Vernon, thank you so much, my friend, for taking the time and having a very productive conversation. Maybe we'll share a movie sometime, man.
We have to. Yeah, we got to do that.
Yeah. Either I come there or something. We'll watch it online or something, man.
Yeah, we must do that.
Absolutely.
Right. Okay. Right. So, it's always great to be here. Thanks for being a great host.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. And you're very easy to talk to, my friend. We have a lot in common. We always get on well. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. You'll be seeing me No Religion Zero this Sunday. I will be back on the 10K Run podcast on Monday, 5 p.m. British Standard Time. Come and check Amos and myself out on that time. So thanks for watching, everyone.